He who masters himself needs no power over others, yet others cannot help but feel his influence. In a world driven by quick pleasure, flattery, and games, many men are taught that control over women comes through manipulation, wealth, or charm. But the Stoic man knows otherwise. He understands that true power, lasting, quiet, and commanding, does not come from forcing others to bend, but from rising so high in discipline and purpose that others are drawn to follow. Power over a woman does not mean domination or control. It means influence, the kind that comes from depth, self-mastery, and unwavering clarity. It is not taken. It is earned. And once it's earned, it does not need to be maintained with fear or force. It sustains itself through quiet authority. Let me offer you 5 timeless principles rooted in Stoic thought that give a man influence without ever needing to raise his voice. The man who has mastered his emotions is a man who cannot be moved by the chaos of others. In a world where many react impulsively, where words are thrown like weapons and silence is feared, the one who remains calm holds the true power. Women, like all people, respond not just to what a man says, but to what he radiates. A man who is emotionally grounded communicates strength without speaking. He does not flinch at rejection, he does not crumble under pressure, and he does not beg for affection. His peace is not tied to anyone's approval, and that makes him both rare and irresistible. When a woman sees that her moods do not control him, that her silence does not shake him, and that her tests go unanswered with drama, she begins to see something different in him, something solid, something immovable. This is not coldness. This is composure. The man who controls himself controls the dynamic. He is not caught in emotional waves because he has built a foundation that does not shift with the wind. Emotional mastery is not about repression. It is about observation. The Stoic watches his emotions rise, but he does not obey them blindly. He chooses his response, not from weakness or fear, but from wisdom and inner strength. This is how he gains influence, not by forcing outcomes, but by showing that nothing outside of him holds the keys to his mind or his peace. When a man reaches this level, women sense it. They feel the difference. He doesn't chase, but he attracts. He doesn't react, but he responds. And in a world full of noise, his stillness becomes power. Power not over others in the shallow sense, but in the deep way that draws people to him without effort. A man who lives for purpose rather than approval commands attention without trying. When his actions are guided by his internal compass, not by the shifting opinions of others, he becomes a rare presence in a world where many seek validation to feel valuable. He wakes up each day not to be seen, but to build, to grow, and to align his actions with what he believes is right. This quiet certainty is more powerful than charm, louder than words, and more attractive than flattery. Most men exhaust themselves trying to win affection, adjusting their behavior to fit what they think women want. But in doing so, they lose their center. A man who chases approval gives away his strength and, worse, becomes forgettable, because approval seekers blend in. But the man who follows purpose stands apart. He does not beg for attention because he is already focused on something bigger than the moment. Whether it's a mission, a craft, a discipline, or a vision, his energy is being directed toward growth. Women notice this. They can sense when a man moves through the world with direction. It communicates stability, confidence, and leadership. He is not waiting for someone to come and make his life meaningful. He is already building meaning on his own. And that makes being around him feel different. It inspires trust. It draws curiosity. It creates desire. From the Stoic point of view, this kind of man is not ruled by external things. He is rooted in something internal: virtue, reason, and responsibility. And because he is anchored, he does not drift. Others, including women, feel safer around such a man, not because he is perfect, but because he is consistent, unwavering, and led by something real. That is the essence of influence, not seeking to impress, but choosing to live with depth. Attention is one of a man's most valuable forms of power, Yet most men give it away too easily. They chase, they overgive, they respond instantly to every message, every glance, every pull for validation. But what is given freely loses value. A man who has cultivated inner discipline understands that attention is like currency. It should only be spent where it brings return, not where it is wasted. When a man becomes selective with his time and focus, others begin to respect it, including women. When a woman sees that a man does not give her instant access to his energy, that he is not easily impressed, and that he does not reward manipulation or superficial behavior with interest, she begins to sense something different. She may test him, she may challenge his silence, but beneath that challenge is curiosity, and often admiration. His lack of neediness is not coldness, it is strength. He is not avoiding her, he is filtering for what is worthy of him. This kind of man does not ignore people out of arrogance. He observes. He watches not what someone says, but how they act. Over time, he knows his value, and that knowledge means he doesn't feel the need to prove it. His attention becomes something rare, and because of that, it becomes something others seek. In the Stoic view, self-control over where you place your attention is a mark of wisdom. A man ruled by impulse gives himself to everything and ends up with nothing. But the man who guards his focus shapes his world. His presence becomes a gift, not a given. And in a culture flooded with noise and validation seeking, the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't chase, but chooses, holds far more power than words ever could. The man who speaks less and observes more naturally holds a position of strength. In a world obsessed with being heard, he values understanding over being understood. While others rush to impress, to fill silence with words, or to react emotionally, the Stoic man waits, listens, and pays attention. In doing so, he learns what others miss. He sees what is not said, hears what is hidden beneath the surface, and notices patterns in behavior that reveal far more than words ever could. Women, like all people, reveal themselves over time. Not just through their speech, but through their choices, responses, and energy. A man who listens closely sees through charm. He does not get swept up in sweet talk or flattery, because he is grounded in reason, not emotion. He lets people unfold, at their own pace, revealing their true nature through their actions, not their words. And in this stillness he becomes more powerful. He doesn't need to interrupt or prove himself because he is already sure of who he is. Silence, when used well, can command more respect than loud declarations. It creates space for the truth to surface. It unsettles those who rely on manipulation, because they cannot control what they cannot read. A quiet man with sharp observation becomes difficult to deceive, and women sense this. They know they cannot play games because he is not reacting, he is reading. In Stoicism, restraint is not weakness, it is discipline. The man who does not rush to speak shows that he is not led by impulse. His calm creates contrast. In a world full of noise, his quietness becomes magnetic. His understanding becomes his weapon. And through watching more than he talks, he earns power without ever needing to demand it. A man who cannot control his desires is easily controlled by others. This is a truth that many ignore, but one that Stoicism emphasizes deeply. Desires, especially those related to attraction and intimacy, can cloud reason, distort judgment, and lead a man to act against his best interest. When a man chases a woman because he feels he needs her to feel whole, he places her above himself. He gives her the power to define his worth, to shape his emotions, and to dictate his direction. This is not love. It is weakness. But when a man learns to control his impulses, to pause before he acts, to think before he reacts, he becomes a different force altogether. He no longer moves out of hunger, but out of choice. He does not fall for every beautiful face or seductive voice because he knows his value cannot be bought with affection or attention. His self-control communicates that he is not lacking, he is whole. He can walk away without fear. He can say no without guilt. And that level of emotional independence is rare. Women recognize this, even if only subconsciously. A man who does Not need them is more intriguing than one who constantly pursues. He becomes a challenge, not because he plays games, but because he cannot be easily won. He is not withholding out of manipulation, but out of principle. His standards protect his peace, and his discipline protects his purpose. In the Stoic tradition, the man who rules over his desires rules over himself. And the man who rules himself cannot be ruled by anyone else. This makes him powerful, not because he controls women, but because he does not allow his cravings to control him. That restraint, that strength, is what draws true respect. The Stoic does not seek to conquer others, he seeks to master himself. And through that mastery, others are drawn to him without force.